Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Madash, Salakia. Double honor to the apostles and the elders and GMS that rule well. Peace and blessing to the Akim is out there fighting, is doing this work with truth and sincerity. It's your brother Bon Sapad back at you again with another lesson. Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect men out there that are listening and watching these videos. It's 1:28 a.m., the 8th, 9th, 2019. I was just laying down watching a Bible on Netflix, and I was just paying attention to Abraham. The Spirit had me to lock in on, as the guy was narrating the part where he said, to be called by the Most High is one thing, but basically also know that when you are called from the Most High, it's also going to be a series of tests. And then I was just thinking, man, just laying down, pondering on that, and the Lord got me up right now doing this lesson, because when you go to King David in the book of Psalms, he used two words asking the Most High to test him and to know him and to prove him. So one word in the Hebrew is prove, nashatha, meaning to prove, and the word to know him, meaning is yada. So King David, like I said, when I was watching the Bible, and when it got to Abraham at the part where the Most High told him to sacrifice his son, he didn't want him to sacrifice his sons. He wanted to see would he do it. So that was a test. Us in this truth, especially me, and I'm no better than anyone in this truth, man. You know, the Lord has put whatever my spirit is, it's from Yahweh Bashim Shai. So I, want to exhort brothers and myself to keep in mind that when we go through disappointments and losses, whatever it may be, if we can just remember that, okay, this is a test of our faith. So yeah, he called us into this truth, but the Most High is always testing his people, man. I don't care how many positive books you can read. If we can understand that when we go through the trials, that, okay, he called me into this thing. He wants to prove and to test and to know me. He already know us. He created us. He just wants to see if we go obey him, especially during the time of adversity. Because when you are prospering, you can easily forget, or your love for the Most High won't be as great as if you will love him when you go through your trials. So I was just thinking about that, and I pray to hope the Lord keep me humble and keep his spirit upon me. So when you catch hell throughout your walk, we ought to think back on the scriptures where he tested Hezekiah, he tested Moses, he tested the children of Israel, man. And King David used two words in two different, it's in the book of Psalms 60, 26 and 2, and the Psalms 139, 23. So I'm going to get Psalms 26 and 26 and 2 first. This is King David, Psalms 26 and 2. So King David wanted the Most High to examine and to prove him, man, to see whether there was any wickedness in him. So this is Psalms 26 and 2. Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart. You see what I'm saying? So let me see. Prove. This is coming from King David. Right here it says Nechak. But looking at look like it's Nashatha. Nasatha. Nasatha. That's what that looked like. So it says what? To test, to try, prove, tempt, to put to proof or test. So when the Most High called his people to come back to him, there's going to be a series of tests that we're going to have to go through to prove him and to prove us, as like gold is being tried in the fire. Okay? So King David was like, examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Nashatha, to try me, to try my reins in my heart. In heart meaning your mind. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to get another one in the book of Psalms 139 and 23. And it says, search me, O power, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. You see, he wanted to see whether he was upright, or King David wanted to see, was there any wickedness, man, that was in him. So he wanted to be proven to see. Now, I'm going to get the word to know, I think in the Hebrew is yada, meaning to know. So let's get that. The word know in the Hebrew is yada, to know, to learn to know. So the Most High wanted to prove, and he wanted to know what's in your mind and what's in your, what's in your mind at the time when you're going through these tests, giving from Yahweh about your Mavashai, man. So King David wanted to be examined and wanted to know and wanted to be proven to see was he was an upright individual. So us in this walk, as we catching hell, we have to keep that in mind, that the Most High is trying us and see if there's any wickedness in us. And that's what King David, he wanted to know and see, was there any wickedness within him. So it's not that the Most High don't already know who we are or know our thoughts. He created us, right? So that word nashatha is translated meaning to prove. So when the Most High tests you, right, and he tests us how? He tests us by putting us through trials. See, so losses and disappointments and trials are a test of our faith, patience, and obedience. Because when you winning, so to speak, and when you prospering, you will forget. But then when he put you through adversity, he wanted to test and wanted to know. He wanted to nashatha, to prove, and yada, to know and to see whether or not you're going to keep your trust in him. You see what I'm saying? So brothers, losing wives and children and families. And man, I don't put it out there like that, man. Out of all my children that I have, I'd have lost 3 families. You know what I mean? On my own. It hurts. And the Spirit got me over that, because it says in the book of Deuteronomy that all men shall not enjoy their kids, enjoy their children. That helped me to get over it. It hurts. Now, if they come back around, of course I'm their dad. I'm going to do whatever. Also, I'm saying that now, looking back and trying to exhort brothers through the Spirit, the shit we go through now on the side as we are being called into this walk is that after being called into this walk, there's going to be a series of tests that the Most High will put you through to try you, to know you, and to prove you. I'm going to get a few examples as well. So like losses and disappointments are basically trials of our faith, patience, and our obedience, man. Like I said, when you're prospering, when you're happy, you know what I'm saying? When you're prospering, it's difficult to really know if you on the Most High side when you're prospering. So the Most High, or only for his blessings. But the Most High, in the midst of your trials, he's testing your faith to see if you're going to keep the same discipline when you was prospering, or you will keep the same discipline when you're going through adversity. And that's what he wants to see. He always wants to see if we're going to keep our integrity at the end of the day. So I'm going to give one account. Like when Moses couldn't go into the promised land, although he led Israel, for 40 years. So I'm in Deuteronomy chapter 8 and 2. It go prove that. So he was basically discussing to Israel about the difficult time and the test that Israel was going through in the wilderness, man. So this is Deuteronomy 8:2. It said, and thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord. Started at verse 1, 8:1. All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers. Verse 2 is the point. And thou shalt remember always which the Lord thy power led thee these 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee and to prove thee and to know what was in thine heart. Now, let's go to that word prove. Let's go to that word know. So Moses was saying to Israel that, look, the reason the Most High led us, one of the reasons is to try you and to prove you and to know you. See, they go that same word again. H5253. Nasatah. Nasatah. To test, to prove. So the Most High was proven and to test Israel in the wilderness. Let's go to, and we wanted to know them. So like it. And those who didn't pass the test, he got rid of them because they was full of sin anyways coming out of the land of Egypt. So there was a test. And only the ones who passed the test went into the promised land. And that word to know, yada in the Hebrew, meaning to know. He wanted to learn Israel. He wanted to see that when you were in the wilderness, I pulled you from your captivity into the wilderness. Now I'm about to test and see. I'm giving you all these great things. Yeah, Jake was murmuring and things of the nature, but Jake didn't have no integrity. You seeing all the stuff that he's doing, but yet still you murmuring. I guarantee you those who murmured was the ones he got rid of because they didn't pass the test. So the Most High is always testing his people, man. So Moses was discussing the difficult time of testing and to know Israel in the wilderness. That's what the Most High was doing, man. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy power led thee these 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee and prove thee. See, to know, to prove thee, nasatha, meaning to prove, and to know in the Hebrew, yada, he wanted to know what was in Israel's mind, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And it's the same thing we going through today when we going through the fiery trials that we have to go through, man. So keeping that in mind would help. Yeah, you have to catch a deep breath at times, but like, man, okay. And think about it, meditate on what you're going through and then go through it. We got to always keep that the Most High is always refining us, proving and to test us to see, are we going to keep his commandments to the best of our ability or just throw in the towel when shit get hot. Now with that happening in Deuteronomy, fast forwarding now when Israel is entering into the promised land. So what did the Most High do with the enemies in Canaan? Because he left Israel, because what? He wanted to test Israel. He wanted to test Israel. And we get that in Judges 3 and 4. Judges 3 and 4. Well, see, watch. Judges 3 and 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove. You see, to prove. Now these are the nations left to prove Israel, to test Israel. Nashatha, to test, to try, to prove. So when you fast forward to Jake entering into the promised land, the Judges 3 and 1 says, now these are the nations which the Lord left to test Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan. Only that generation of the children of Israel might know. Teach them war at least such as before knew nothing thereof. And he giving you the Philistine, the Canaanites, Sidonians, the Hivites. Now the point is in 4. Now they will prove. Israel by them to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. So that word prove or test is nashathar in the Hebrew, and the word to know is yada. The Most High always wanted to prove and see where Israel was at, man, to see where they keep their integrity and keep the commandments of the Lord when he was telling them what to do. So he wanted to prove them and to see them, man. He wanted to see. You see? He wanted to see if they would obey him at the end of the day. And it's the same thing that we're going through as well, brothers. The Most High wants to see if we go obey him, man, when going through the fiery trials, which is to test your faith. It's faith he wanted to test and see it. Hezekiah was one of them. Hezekiah was one of the greatest kings in the Old Testament, man. You know, when you go to 2 Chronicles, the Babylonian sent messages to visit him, and that nation was an evil superpower nation at that time, talking about the Babylonians. So Hezekiah wanted to impress them with the riches that he had. So he wanted to show our nation's wealth to the ambassadors of Babylon. Now, I'm going to get that. Now, these are the examples the Spirit is allowing me to pull out to prove that prove that he's testing and proved his people. And I'm saying that through the Spirit for brothers. Look, when you come into this thing and when you start to catch in hell, it's to try, to prove, and to know, and to see if you're going to keep obeying Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai, man. So let's go to 2 Chronicles 32 and 31. Well, I'm going to set it up. Let me see. So I'm going to start at 27. And Hezekiah, and I'm going to jump down. 2 Chronicles 32 and 27. And Hezekiah had exceeding much riches and honor, and he made himself treasures of silver and for gold and for precious stones and for spices and for shields and for all manner of pleasant jewels. Storehouses also of the increase of corn and wine and oil, and stalls for all manner of beasts and coats and flocks. Moreover, he provided him cities and possessions of flocks and herds in the abundance, for the Most High hath given him substance very much. That saying, Hezekiah also stopped the upper watercourse of Gihon and brought it straight down to the west side of the city of David. And Hezekiah prospered in all his works. Now, this is the point. Howbeit, in the business of the ambassadors of the prince of Babylon, who sent unto him to inquire of the wonder that was done in the land, the Most High left him to try him, that he might know all that was in his heart. And we know the Hebrew word for heart is lab, meaning your mind. So he wanted to test and see and try Hezekiah to see where he was at. Now, let's go to 31. Let's look up some words. I want them to see something. See the word test, prove, or try. Nasatha in the Hebrew, to test, to try, to prove. So he wanted to test Hezekiah to see where his mind was at. You see what I'm saying? So once again, the Most High always will call his people back to him, but also know we have to keep in mind too, brothers, that he's here to prove, Nashatha, to prove and test us, and Yada, meaning to know, to see if we're going to keep obeying Yahweh Bashim Abishai, whether we doing good, meaning that whether we prospering in our time while we're here, and as we, go through adversity as well. It's balance. So he wanted to test and prove our faith to see if we're going to constantly obey Yahweh Bashim Abishai. Abraham was tested. We know in Genesis 22 when when the Most High wanted him to sacrifice his son, he just wanted to see was Abraham was going to do it. He didn't want him to do it per se. He just wanted to see. He wanted to try and to know and see where Abraham stand, man. So it's a beautiful thing. Now it makes sense when the apostle, the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shema Rashad say through the apostles and elders, when you eat this, it's like honeycomb on your lips. But once you digest it, it's bitter in thy belly. That's spoken of in the book of Ezekiel. So it's beautiful when you wake up to who you are, when you are called back to your nationality and to your power, Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. Also, going through this walk, it's a series of tests. And the apostles and elders been through series of tests, man. The 9/11, you see what I'm saying, being brought before the judges, man. Bail money is hella high, not knowing how to go do it, but the Most High intervened, man. That takes faith like hell, you see. So it's just something to keep in mind. Lord willing, I know this lesson is over 20 some minutes. And probably won't get no views on it, but I don't care. I was just laying down in the bed and watching the Bible, man, and couldn't sleep. That part where Abraham, the narrator was saying, you know, the Most High, well, he didn't say the Most High, he said God, but we know the Most High, Yahweh, will call you back to who you are and call you into this faith to test it, to prove it. So think it not strange that you go through fiery trials. The Lord is with us. We have to believe it, and we have to remain firm and remain strong. It's your brother Bon Sapar. Lord willing, I hope it was edifying. Till the next time, Shalom.